All right, everyone, welcome. Tonight, we're going to be talking about how to select a college. I'm Janine Phelan. I work with Education Quest in the Communications Department, and I'll be talking to Stacy Syme tonight. She is in our Kearney office at Education Quest in college planning. And Stacy has been there quite some time, so she is an expert with all things college planning. And Stacy, I know you've got a junior in high school right now, so this will be your reality soon enough.
This
So,
is true.
Stacy, let's jump right in and talk about if you were a senior in high school right now, what should you have already done, or what have most high school seniors already done at this point in the college planning process?
Sure. Well, hopefully they have been visiting campus or two that they've been interested in. Hopefully they have also applied to their colleges of choice. Uh, Hopefully, again, they filed the FAFSA, which is the form for financial aid purposes. Scholarship process has been continuing. It might be trickling just a little bit more here, and hopefully seeing some of those award notifications so they can be prepared to make their college selection, which is what we're discussing tonight.
Okay, so there's been a lot happening already. So, what if you are a senior and you haven't done that? Is it too late?
Absolutely not. Any of those things can still be done to get you on track. Or for some students, perhaps you thought you had a college choice made, and perhaps you're wavering just a little bit or
Yeah.
making some other decisions. You can absolutely still complete all of those same steps with additional schools.
Sounds great. So, it feels like the next step would be to select a college, right?
Absolutely. Now is the time to do that. Typically by about the 1st of May is the guideline.
Okay, so let's dig right in. When I think about college, and I have a feeling most people think about college, cost is front and center. So let's just go there. If a senior is looking at several schools and they're trying to figure out what this is actually going to cost them, how do they do that? How do they figure out the true cost of college for each of their top schools?
Sure. So each college is going to establish a budget for their campus that should be spelled out for students on their award notifications. So you're looking for something that says cost of attendance or cost of education. What students really need to spend some time looking at is the direct expenses. So, what do you specifically have to pay to the college? Which will, of course, be the tuition and fee component. And for a lot of students, also the room and board component, as well as books and those other personal expenses that come into play as well. So, every college that you've applied to and listed on the FAFSA will then offer a financial aid offer to help students assess what of those expenses has been covered through financial aid resources, what is potentially still left to be covered by the family out of pocket, and then just start kind of making some decisions. Does that school still remain on the table for them? Is it possible that they might need to look at living at home versus living on campus? Do they need to expand their search and see about maybe starting with a community college and then transferring to a four-year school? So there's a lot of pieces to put together, but again, that can be done across different types of institutions so students can really nail down what is my true cost going to be to attend this particular school.
Okay, helpful. But when I think about cost of college, so many families need to take out student loans. So let's talk about student loans. If a student does need to borrow for their education, give me an idea. On average, let's say you are a student in Nebraska, you're going to a four-year school. On average, how much does a student borrow in student loans? And then what does that translate to for a monthly payment when they're done with their education?
Sure. We have lots of questions about student loans in our offices. Average student loan debt for a situation in the criteria you described is approximately $27,000. That would be a payment of roughly $270 a month for 10 years. So, one of the things we do encourage students to think about is what levels of debt are going to be necessary to attend certain institutions. Also, really thinking about, is the student going to be looking at additional education beyond the 2 year, 4 year pathway? So, they're looking at
Mhm.
graduate professional schools when there may be additional amounts of money borrowed. Um, Obviously, we really encourage students to borrow as little as possible, but it is important to consider as you make those decisions about student loans to recognize that that is a part of your budget for a long period of time after completing your degree. So, as you potentially make decisions about purchasing a home or a car down the road, you would also need to factor in that you will likely have a sizable student loan payment that'll be a part of your budget as well.
Great. And watch the comments there because you're going to see we just added a student loan chart. It's really great information. So it will piggytail back on what Stacy just talked about with student loans and give you information about the interest rates and how much you can borrow each year and when repayment begins. So that's a really great resource. And speaking of the comments section, if you have questions that come up while you're listening to us, put them in the comments and we will definitely get to them after we are done with our part of the conversation. So, Stacy, great information about the whole student loan and financial aid part of it, but I know it's not the only thing that students consider when they're selecting a school. So, if a high school senior has done their homework, they should have quite a lot of criteria to consider. So, with that, academics has to be really toward the top there of what they're considering. What advice
Absolutely.
would you give a senior when they're looking at academics?
Sure. So obviously, when a student begins to narrow down their college choices, that the classes that are necessary for you to achieve a major in the potential career that you are anticipating down the road is of utmost importance. If you're a student who perhaps is maybe a little bit undecided, or there's a general subject area you'd like to head toward, it's important to see what kind of range of classes a college can offer as well. Transferring is certainly an opportunity some students have. They may need to do that to be able to change degrees. The key
Mhm.
is, ideally, we'd like to be able to have the student change majors at the same institution that they're at. That does save significant cost and time for a student, but that sometimes that's not always the case. So, especially for students, use those elective classes and take some of the core courses in your program of study to really start to determine that that is what you're most interested in. You might also want to look at things that are available on campus, such as career preparation. Are internships available for students that can really help you solidify that that school is the right choice for you and the program that you're after?
Great. Stacy, I can only imagine that over the many years that you've been with Education Quest, that you've helped people, students who had to transfer because their school just didn't offer what they thought they wanted to be after they were in school for a while. Can you talk a little bit about that? Do you have some examples of what has happened for students that needed to transfer?
Sure. A lot of times for students, one thing I do want to mention that it is possible to transfer. So I know sometimes kids can feel a lot of pressure to know what they want to study and go to college and really feel like they need to stick to that path. And so transferring is certainly something that may need to happen for certain students. But one of the things that we really like students to think about is are there a wide range of potential areas that you're interested in? If you
Mhm.
decide to attend nursing school, for example, and you attend a college that is predominantly a health profession area, and partway through your education decide you would like to become a teacher, you're not going to have a lot of overlap there in terms of courses that are going to be able to transfer to that new degree that you're seeking. So it may require you to go to another institution. It is also pretty common with transferring institutions that it may add some time on to completion of your degree. Again, just because classes may not transfer completely seamlessly, and there just may be other classes that you need to take to be able to complete your degree requirements in that new subject area.
Yeah, that makes me think of when I was in college, so many of freshman students were pre-med. And then they took a biology class and decided, I'm not pre-med anymore. So it's really important. The advice you just gave is great.
Very
But
true.
let's stick with that. When you think about career preparation and your college major, they really go hand in hand. So, how could a senior, as they're trying to figure out what college to select, how can they know that their college will help them find a job after they're done with their education?
Sure. So, something students really need to find out about, research, really get involved in really shortly after they decide on their college is checking into student services. Most colleges have career placement offices. They're places that a student can go into to do some research with regard to maybe some career prep. So, the career services area may offer dummy interview sessions,
Mm.
or they'll overlook some of the exams or things that you are going to need to take to do that advanced program of study. They may help you with job placement. Career fairs are common a lot of times at colleges. I know where I attended college, we had an entire network. Of individuals that we could reach out to. We could just literally go into into that office on campus. We could find a subject area that we were looking at, and there would be a list of names of people we could contact. So maybe things like job shadowing, and also, kind of considering what potential for students who are looking at maybe that med school option. How many students are getting admitted to their medical school programs when they have started their undergraduate degree? Because that can also give you a true indication of if you're anticipating additional study versus entering the workforce, how well you'll be able to transition into a graduate program.
That's great. I think of when my kids were in college, and both of them were able to get internships because of the college. They helped them set them up. And those internships led to jobs after college. And that is just a really great pathway for a lot of students to go through. So, really good advice. So, Stacy, let's say at this point, the student has considered a lot of criteria. They've made their college selection. What's the next steps? What happens?
Once that final decision is made, again, May 1 is kind of what we're shooting for, which is coming up very quickly. It's time for students to complete those housing applications and start paying those deposits, which do tend to be non refundable. Students will also sign up to attend what is called new student orientation. That will typically happen the end of May, beginning of June. And it is a time where a student will get on campus, will meet with an advisor, potentially in, again, their area of study. And that advisor will work with them to create their class schedule. And a lot of times that advisor will help them also kind of figure out what their career path is going to look like. I myself have been spending a lot of time with a career advisor at the college my daughter is considering, trying to figure out how high school classes can tie into some of the degree requirements that she would need to pursue the degree she is considering. Um, those orientation sessions also typically have a lot of fun built in. So there's a way for you to meet other students on campus through various activities. You will be most likely assigned a roommate if you've done, some of that housing information, the roommate selection forms. So over the summer months, you might be looking at reaching out and connecting with your roommate. Probably the last thing I would say, kind of wrapping back to that student loan conversation, is towards the end of May or so, when you really have that financial aid offer in place, you probably have some good awareness of the scholarship picture that you're going to have, so that you do truly know, okay, here's what my firm costs are going to be. You've registered for classes, you know how many credits you're taking. That's the point also where you need to do some of that additional loan paperwork, such as completing an entrance counseling requirement and a promissory note. So a lot of the work is behind you, but got a few more things that still need to be done over the next several weeks, and even into those summer months.
Indeed. Stacy, you have given us so much information. This is really great. But I have a feeling that if I were a high school senior right now, although I've done a lot of the work, it still feels overwhelming. So, where can seniors turn for help? What do you recommend?
Sure. Obviously, reach out to their counselor. That's the person who probably and really encourage students to have a heart to heart with their parents or guardians. One of the loan types that is going to be referenced on that chart is potentially a parent loan. So it's a conversation worth having if parent loans are going to be something that can be utilized to help meet some of those costs. And of course, you can always utilize the services offered at Education Quest. We would be more than happy. And something that we do is sit down with families and compare different award letters and help that family to figure out, okay, here is my bottom line if I were to attend this college or this college. And we have a ton of great resources out there on our website, and we are always just a phone call away as well to ask any questions that you may have as you begin this journey of leaving high school and adventuring into college.
Great. And we'll put up a slide here that you can see. We'd love to have families follow us on social. We put a lot of great information out there to help students stay on track to college. Of course, we have our countdown to college emails that we strongly encourage. If you have students that are in ninth grade through 12th, we have monthly emails that will also make sure families stay on track to college. And you'll see we have 4 locations of Education Quest across the state of Nebraska. So reach out. Stacy is in our Kearney office, but we have 3 other locations, and the staff there is very happy to help. So definitely reach out. So let's take a look at questions and see if we have viewers with some questions out there. All right. So here's one that says, how important is it to attend that new student orientation?
Pretty important. Honestly, that is the time where you're going to set up your class schedule for the fall term.
Mhm.
And as you reach college, a lot of times classes are have to be taken in a particular order. So you have to take that English level class or that math level before you can take a second level course. So with with going to that orientation, it really is important to be able to set up a schedule that best fits for you, best works for you. If it is possible for a parent to attend, I do encourage that as well, because they typically do have a parent session, providing parents a little bit of information as well about how what they're going to have access to, and even just a few things too about helping their students make that transition. So it's definitely something that has a pretty important place in the transition process from ending high school and moving into that college ready position.
You know, Stacy, I have fond memories of new student orientation for both of my kids. They really do a great job of keeping the parents entertained and helping us know, what, as you said, what services are available on campus, but also what information we don't have access to, like student grades, which was a real surprise, but that's the reality. So it's good to know.
And I think it's a great, and again, being a parent who is going to be sending a child to college here soon, I think it's a great opportunity too to ask questions about things that you might not want to ask in front of your child. So things like safety and security, and where are they going to get their meal plan, and how do I pay for this, and where do I go help them find to park, and all of those sorts of things. So just kind of those outside things that are new experiences at college as well.
Exactly. All right, Stacy, here's another question. I haven't received an award notification yet. What do I do?
Okay, you bet. So the majority of award notifications are going to come electronically. So it is important for you to really pay close attention to your student portal account. So at the time that you applied for admission, you were most likely given some login information, a student ID number, and you were asked to create a password. I know a lot of systems have the two-step verification now, so you would have had to set all of that up to create your account. Once you are logged into that student portal, you need to be identifying and looking for kind of a to-do list. Nearly every college has a list of things that they have received and things they may still be asking for. So if you are not yet seeing an award notification, I would think that there might be something under that to-do list that you need to provide to the college. Potentially a tax document, potentially a form that's an institutional form for the school. It could be that you need to let your counselor know, hey, you need to send a grade transcript. There could be any number of things that are holding up that financial aid process. And of course, we also want to make sure that your FAFSA has been received, that there weren't any issues with anything with processing of your FAFSA. So, a lot of award letters have been coming out over the last couple of weeks and will continue to do so. So I would definitely encourage you to check that to-do list under your student portal account for the colleges that you're considering.
Okay. We have a question that came in. Someone must have looked at our student loan chart, which is great. And the question is, what do I do if my credit is not good enough? So this must be about a parent borrowing a plus loan.
Sure.
So what's your advice?
First of all, student loans are guaranteed. So on the loan chart, the subsidized and unsubsidized loans that you see listed there for the student are guaranteed. So a student, again, is unlikely to have a lot of credit history. So that is not a problem. The parent loan piece does have a credit verification. Uh, First of all, you can always submit a request for a parent loan. If you would receive a denial due to an adverse credit history, the student is eligible to receive 4,000 additional dollars in their name. And that does have to happen as a result of a denial of that plus loan application. So it's worth a shot to apply. I know I have had questions from folks in the past who've been surprised to be able to be receiving that parent loan. So it may have an impact. It may not. If it does, your student is able to have some additional funds under their name.
Okay, good to know. But Stacy, I know you and I both agree you want to borrow as little as possible, whether that's in student loans or parent loans. It's no joke. It takes a long time to pay them back, and it does have an impact on your budget. So obviously, borrow as little as possible.
Correct.
Okay, so Stacy, that's all the questions we have tonight. So thank you so much. And again, to our audience, if you have additional questions, contact us at Education Quest. Talk to your school counselor. Get help because there's a lot of help out there for you. And good luck, seniors.
Thanks, Janine.